Hello and welcome to our first IG Live today. Yes, today we do have a double header, and our first interview is with an author illustrator team. We are talking to Pooja Makhijani, and Nadia Alam, and about their new book, Together for Mama. If you haven't entered our giveaway yet, you really need to. We're finishing up Mental Health Awareness Month with this beautiful book about postpartum depression. So make sure to enter after you watch the interview, where you can find out the story behind the stories. As always, we come to you usually at 2 o'clock Eastern, but watch those announcements because sometimes, like today, we have one at 1 o'clock. All of you for watching and supporting us, which is why we are so happy to be able to do a giveaway like we're doing right now. Hold on. Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. I think actually both of you should be, I only see, let me see. Both of you should be on, but I only see one. Are you able to see both of us or do you just see me?
No, I just see you.
Okay. Well, why don't maybe we can go ahead and start. Let me see. I'll send her an invitation, see if that works that way. But why don't you go ahead and start? Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. My name is Pooja Makhijani. I'm the author of several picture books, including the forthcoming book that we are discussing today. It's called Together for Mama, and it's coming out on June 23rd.
Oh, I just got a note from Nadia saying she's unable to join. Okay, Nadia, I'm going to send you an invitation again, and we'll see if that works. Yeah, so June 23rd, very exciting. So tell us about what was your journey to becoming an author? As you mentioned, you have several picture books out already, but
Yeah.
was that something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I think like I've been asked this question, and I think I trace it back to a project that I did in 8th grade where we had to write our own picture books. And I wrote a book about two bears who were best friends. They did everything together. They had picnics and they had sleepovers and all of that. And my 8th grade language arts teacher at the time was like, kind of planted that seed in my head. And I think, of course, life takes you in different directions. I studied very many different things. I worked many jobs, and but somehow I found my way back to that 13-year-old self.
I love it. And shout out to teachers who are so wonderful about planting that seed.
Yeah.
And well, I don't know. She just sent another request to join. Nadia, I just keep getting a note saying unable to join. So I don't know if you want to maybe try close out and come back in. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't want to send another invitation because I think sometimes the invitations and the requests start fighting each other. But so tell us about your new picture book. Hopefully Nadia will be on to join us soon. Together for Mama, it is so beautiful, and especially because I think one statistics that you use is nearly 1 in 8 birthing parents in the US is affected by postpartum depression, and yet it's something for such a long time people haven't really talked about, probably underdiagnosed, I would imagine. And there was so much stigma about it. So why is it so important to have a book like yours that really addresses it, especially for young children?
I think because it is so common. I think that it affects families and communities in ways that we don't know. This book is a universal tale of postpartum depression. Like I said, it happens to a lot of people, but it's also deeply culturally specific.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, also that extra layer of the level of stigma that exists in Asian American and South Asian American communities, especially, it was really important for me to write a story that reflected my own experience. To be honest, I feel really fortunate that my family was very supportive when I was in a difficult moment in my life. Um, that it's like a completely non-judgmental, we're all here to take care of mom and child and baby, um, with with all the love and that comes with being a family.
Yeah. What misunderstandings do you think people have about postpartum depression that you kind of wanted to clear up in the book?
I think that I think that when people become new parents or parents again, or right, that the only emotion that they're sort of allowed to feel, like kind of in the is joy, right? They have to they're not allowed to have any conflicting, or they're not allowed to express this conflicting.
Mhm.
And anyone who has had children or has had their family grow or has observed it closely, as an auntie or a grandparent or what have you, um, knows that it's a really conflicting and
Mhm.
complicated and hormonal and exhausting and like all of that. So I think part of it was to be that this moment in this transition in life is just really complicated, and I think it's worth talking about,
Mhm.
because if we can't talk about our emotions honestly with the people around us and the people we love, um, and holding them is just a bad thing. We know this. We tell children all the time, don't hold it all in, express
Yeah.
it in a way that is healthy and productive and kind. So that was the sort of, I guess, the driving factor
Mhm.
for me. Is just like, we all experience all sorts of emotions in our lives. How
Mhm.
can we express them in a way that is that, and then, on, like I said, 1 out of 8 parents experience perinatal mental health conditions, right? If we open that conversation, right, we're doing good for lots of families, right? More people may be able to get help. More people may be able to be like, hey, this happens to a lot of people, and that's
Mhm.
good and cool, and I'm not the only one.
Right. Yay. Hi, Nadia.
Yay.
Ah, I'm so glad. I was a little worried we weren't going to be seeing you. Oh, hold on. I can't hear you. And are you able to adjust your camera a little bit? I just see like kind of the bottom of your face. I think because of having both of you, it makes the little square or rectangle that you're in a little smaller. There. Are you able to see us? Well, while you get it set up, would you tell us about how you got it came into it? Because I think maybe one of the difficulties around it, like you said, we're not allowed to express anything other than joy. And also, I think that parents might worry about how much of this to show to their children. Like in the book, it's a second child that's been born, and the story is told from the perspective of the older child, but who's still really young. And so parents might not know how to talk to their young children about it, whether they should show that there's any problem. So how did you've written about this as a journalist, because you've had pieces published in a lot of different publications. How did you find a way into the story that was age appropriate? Didn't really, I know you said that one of the things you were thinking about is you wanted to make sure that children didn't feel like they had to carry the adult's burden.
Yeah. And I hope I was successful in doing that. This
Mhm.
child, her name is Asha. She's very confused. Well, she's very, so she knows that there's a baby coming home, and she's
Mhm.
extremely happy. She's going to be the best big sister ever. Like, she is beaming ear to ear the whole time. And her mom comes home, and over a short period of time, she realizes that her mom is not happy as she is. And she's like
Mhm.
confused, disappointed, angry. She's obviously feeling like many, many emotions.
Mhm.
Um, but she doesn't have to carry those emotions herself, right? At sort of the solution is that her whole family comes and sort of rallies around not only Asha, but her mother and the new baby, like sort of
Mhm.
everyone involved, and dad too, to a certain extent, but he's a
Right.
slightly secondary character in this story. Um,
Although I have to say, shout out to the dad because he's the one that called in the grandmas and said, "We need
right.
you here." So that was great. Yeah.
And so that was really important to me, to show that she is supported by so many other people. She is not carrying her mother's burden, nor does her mother put it on her
Mhm.
throughout the story. I think she finds throughout the rest of the story, finds ways to help that make sense in the context of what she understands.
Mhm.
Um, this was sort of inspired by my own experience as a new parent, and then, like you said, as a journalist, sort of reporting on postpartum mental health and the fourth trimester more generally. And it was also really important to me to make it there were things that happened in my own life that I wouldn't have put in a
Mhm.
children's book, right? So it
Mhm.
was like there was a little parsing of like, what does this story look like when my audience
Mhm.
is 4 years old?
Mhm.
I talked to lots of experts too. I talked to a friend who's an OBGYN. I talked to a friend that's a perinatal mental health specialist. I talked to friends who had had um, perinatal mental health issues with their second or third or,
Mhm.
like subsequent children, as opposed to my story, which was my only child.
Mhm.
And so I think taking in all of those and listening to other people, and then obviously from my reporting as a journalist, thinking about every word choice and every kind of emotional moment to be like, does this feel age appropriate? But
Mhm.
also character driven, right?
Right.
I didn't want it to be didactic. I didn't want it to be moralistic.
Right. Hmm. That must have been, was that a hard balance to strike? I know you use, if I remember right, that you had sensitivity readers.
I did.
Some of the
Yeah.
people
Some of
that
the
you
people
just
that I just
mentioned.
mentioned. So they were experts in their
Hmm.
field, but also could bring, were there pieces that
Hmm.
rang true or didn't ring true, or how could I, all of that stuff. Because I feel
Hmm.
like that was really important to get it right.
Hmm. So what was that process like for you? Because I know that's something a lot of people talk about. Using the sensitivity readers, did it change the manuscript a lot, or did it just kind of give you confidence about what you had already written?
I think it gave me the latter. I think I knew, just again from personal experience and then sort of years and years of reporting, that I knew and it felt right. I think writers and artists know when something just resonates, like has this resonance beyond oneself. It's sort of an instinctual thing.
Yeah.
But I did want other people's. Oh, Nadia's here.
Yay.
Hi.
Yay.
Hi, I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right. I'm glad it worked. That's all that
Yeah.
matters. Yeah.
Sorry, Pooja, go on.
No, I was just saying that. So the sensitivity readers, who are all my friends, who are all experts, just were able to um, solidify for me that I knew that I was on the right track.
That's great. And so, Nadia, I'm so glad you're here.
Hi.
I'd love to hear your part in the process, just because the illustrations are so beautiful in this book. But
Thank
maybe we
you.
could take a moment first. You can introduce yourself and tell us
Sure.
about your journey to becoming an illustrator.
Sure. My journey to getting into this Instagram live was very difficult. I'm so sorry. And then the audio wasn't working, the video wasn't
Oh,
working. I apologize. So I became an illustrator. I had like a different life, and then during COVID, I had two young children. They're less than 2 years apart, and they were both under 4. And it was COVID. I was working full time,
mm,
and I just kind of hit a wall where I think a lot of people during that time had a similar experience where it was like, what do I value in life? What do I want to do with my time?
mm,
How do I want to spend my time? Because it's not what is happening right now.
mm,
So that was kind of the tipping point for me into becoming an illustrator. Previous to that, I had an art history background and a background in education, and had taught and had always just kind of like doodled on the side, did invitations for people and baby shower stuff. And so COVID was it. I gave myself a year to get an agent and a book deal, and I did those things. And it's just been kind of go, go, go since then.
and when you were deciding what you wanted to do, wanted to get back into art, why picture books? Or like why children's books? Was that your own experience with your reading to your children or your background in
Um,
education?
I think a bit of everything. I think like,
Mm,
often happens as you grow older, you like look back on your life and you can see all these little breadcrumbs of who you
mm,
are and who you're going to become. And for me, it really was children's books. Like I had all of these, and I think too, like during COVID, you're just like struggling to find comfort, right? And I think I really realized how lucky I was to love books, like to love storytelling, to have that comfort available to me, and having the children at the same time. I was like reading them these storybooks and just marveling at how beautiful they were, how much emotion and storytelling can be put into such sparse amount of language.
right.
um so it was a little bit of everything. And then yeah, when you have young kids, mine were 2 and 4 at the time,
Mm.
um like I started getting nostalgic. I started ordering the books that I had when I was growing up and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
And then we come to the book we're talking about today, Together for
Yeah.
Mama. So when you first got the manuscript, what were your thoughts when you read through it? How did it resonate with you?
My first thoughts were like, I don't even think I finished it before I emailed my agent and was like, yes, like absolutely. Like, yeah, because I just hadn't seen a book like it. I just hadn't. And I had really, especially with my first, I'd really struggled. I had the information about postpartum available to me. I had really good family doctors, really good OB, and I still felt shy or apprehensive to talk about it honestly, and it lasted longer than I now in retrospect than it needed to, because I just didn't feel comfortable talking about it. So when I was pregnant again, especially because it was such a short window, it was like, it was a year later I was pregnant again. Um, I I became really worried about what was going to happen and how I was going to, my daughter was my firstborn, my son was my second. I was really like anxious about, oh God, is that going to happen to me again? How am I going to handle having a newborn and a toddler? So it resonated with me on a very personal level. And then I just felt like, this is just great writing. It's like lovely. It's a lovely story. So right away. Also, Pooja, hi. We have never met
I
before. This is
know.
so
We've
cool.
only
Is that right? Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
they keep walls between author and illustrator through the creative process, and I totally understand that. So we've emailed and obviously been on social media together, but this is the first time we're face to face.
Yeah.
Oh, I
This
love it.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, that was my reaction to the manuscript right away. Was like, yeah, like when I started becoming an illustrator, these are the kinds of stories that I wanted.
Mm.
Representation, not just like representation brought across a broad spectrum of what representation means.
So talk to us about the initial, because I read in a different interview, Nadia, that when you first do your initial sketches, you make sure it's on like really cheap paper or newsprint,
Yeah,
something so that you're not very attached to those initial sketches. So
yeah.
how did your initial design for this book change over the course of your process?
You know what? It changed very little. It's funny. It's not even that. It's more so that when I have like nice paper, I'm
Mm,
so tentative that I'm unable to loosen up
mm,
and enjoy it. But for it's those little placebo thingies. When I
yeah.
work on newsprint, I'm like woohoo, like freewheeling whatever I want. And then as soon as you put like a nice piece of sketchbook and a nice sketchbook in front of me, I'm like like just shy and nervous about the whole thing. So that's part of that. In terms of just how the sketches changed, really nothing did, except at one point, and Pooja, I think it was a note from you. It was like, can we change the grandparents? So at one point it was
Mm,
male, female, and then it became female, female. So it became both
mm.
mothers, paternal, maternal mothers represented in the story, which I loved. I liked that note. I thought that was nice.
And how did you develop the look for all of the characters in general?
I mean, I usually pull. I have a really big family. We all live in Toronto, most like a lot of us, and I have like every Sunday my family gets together. There's 7 kids all together under 10, and so they're just like that's my inspiration. I just watch them. I just like
Yeah.
watch them. I watch what they wear. I watch what they drop on the floor. I watch what they eat off the floor. You just watch them.
And I know that you had said as one time that you focus a lot like on what's happening in the background and kind
Yeah.
of the overall image. So what kind of things did you put, especially we were talking earlier about like the representation, making this
Mm.
having a very specific cultural context. So
Yeah.
how did you kind of keep that in mind as you're creating like the larger picture?
Like to be honest, it's just my household. Like
Yeah.
it's just how I live. So to me, I'm like I'm just sketching what I see around. My like my mom lives with me. She's there. She's like on like she's doing the stirring of the pots and the teas and all that. So it really is just what I see. It's not terribly imaginative, to be honest.
But important because we were talking about the importance of representation. And do you think, Pooja, that the way this I mean on the one hand you talked about how there needs to be more conversations about mental health in Asian American, especially South Asian American communities, and yet I think this book demonstrates a lot of the strengths from that specific context about having the extended family so near, having the grandma, like you said, your mom lives with you. I mean, that there is a lot of support from extended family. Would you say
I
that
think it
that's,
depends. I mean, I do think it depends family to family. Obviously, I think when, like I said, this is drawn from my own story and everyone descended upon me when I was at this moment in my life and it was a judgment-free zone and stuff. And so this is like the ideal. I feel grateful that I have this um, a family who was able to do this. I do think in many South Asian families, there is this obligation and responsibility to each other that is cultivated, which is both good and bad, I suppose, right? Like it depends on which angle you look
yeah.
at it. And so I just tapped into that. But it was really important to me, like I said, because there's so much stigma, because we know the statistics, at least in the United States, say that Asian American women are underdiagnosed, not because they don't experience postpartum depression at the same rates, is because they just don't access the mental health care service. Like it's just is a huge right there. And I really just wanted to create this space where everyone just shows up and is like, okay, what are we gonna do?
Hmm. And so, how do you see this book as relating to your other books? Like you have Bread is Love, Mama's Saris. To me, it seems like the kind of the through line is like these loving family relationships. Or how do you see them being connected?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I think that artists and writers, and you can see this in any of your favorite artists and writers, if you look, there's always common themes or common sort of obsessions, I call them, throughout their work. And I think I'm really interested in domesticity and family life. Family can be a place of incredible love. And of course, on the flip side, a place for incredible violence, but that's not the picture books. I'm interested in how care work more generally and how we care not only for each other but like our communities. Yeah, and I'm interested in modeling. Maybe modeling is not the right word, but like that, to show caregivers like how to respect and honor children's big emotions, right? So bread is
Mm,
love. The one of the emotions that comes through there is disappointment. Spoiler alert. And sort of the caregiver deals with the child's disappointment. This one is a little heavier. It's about depression, and a whole bunch of adults help Asha sort of make sense of her confusion and her anger and maybe her anxiety and stuff like that. So it's also a way to open those conversations too. Children have like such a wide range of emotions, and they should be allowed to express all of them. And we should honor all of them emotions, and of course guide them on how to deal with them in a healthy and productive way.
yeah, which I think is good. We are kind of talking about earlier. Sometimes parents don't know how to talk to kids about some of these or how to guide them through these emotions. So that's why your book is so needed. And Nadia, talking about through lines through your work, something that struck me about yours, say, in this book, obviously, also looking back to Mauntie and Me, with Rajani and LaRocca. It seems like there's a lot about emotions, kids having big emotions. So through your illustrations, how do you capture these emotions so well? Because they come through so beautifully. How do you do that? Is that is that I don't know if that's something you can answer.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure how to answer that other than just observing and having compassion and just recognition of your own experience as a child. Like no, nothing is new under the sun, including the emotions that you feel. You felt them as a child. You just grow to either cope or have defenses or some kind of protection around it. That's the beauty of children, is that they're experiencing emotions often for the first time that we kind of take for granted or get desensitized to. So it's kind of like um, stripping away that history and just getting to the core of the emotion. To me is I enjoy watching that on my own children, watching their faces and how they react to it. So I don't know. It's a hard. It's like the kind of like the mystery of art. It's like how do I do it? I don't know.
Right.
Well,
But I love that idea.
can I speak to that a little bit? When
Yeah.
I saw the color, when you had like, and I just the way that you had used color so thoughtfully throughout the way that the emotions of the child and especially the child Asha, but also mom and the other characters in the story, it just felt like there were points where I felt like my chest was opening and it felt like I was like kind of inward. And that was just through both motion and color in my not very educated opinion, like language. And I feel like it's almost embodied within the art. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just,
So
she's
nice.
amazing.
Thank you. That's really nice.
Well,
Thank
just
you.
another reason it's so important to have this book out there. It is so beautiful for anybody who hasn't had a chance to read it because it's the release date is coming up very soon. And if you haven't entered our giveaway yet, you could win your own copy of it. So be sure to do that when you're done watching this interview. And I thought maybe we could finish up if you guys want to give a little shout out to other projects that you have coming up. Maybe Pooja, you want to start?
Yeah, so I had a book out earlier this year. It's called Bread is Love, and it's about the weekly tradition of a family who makes bread every week. And it's also inspired by my own weekly bread making tradition, and that's been really fun. And I'm really excited for this book to come out. So and see it out in the world. They're both very different. The Bread is Love is very sort of light and playful. And not that this isn't playful, but it does address something that hasn't been addressed, as far as I know, in sort of traditionally published picture books. So I'm really eager to see how people react to it.
Yeah. How about you, Nadia?
So this book coming out, I had Baba Palooza is also another title that has just come out that deals with shame, which was a topic I had not seen often. And I'm actually sitting in my new children's bookstore in Toronto. I've been open for 3 weeks now. Which I hope I have some of your titles on the shelf back there. So
Your
this is
children's
kind of
book, your bookstore you own?
yeah, I just opened.
Wow.
I'm actually, I'll turn around the camera and I will show you. We're just painting the sign right now. There's Lorraine. She's busy painting. Hi. um, so that has been, this is my next project.
Amazing. And you're in Toronto, so anybody in
I'm in Toronto. Yeah, there's so many authors and illustrators in Toronto. It is fantastic. There's something in the water. I'm serious. So, yeah, but there's very, excuse me, there's very few dedicated children's bookstores in the city. There's three, I think three, and in my area there's none. So I'm on the west end of Toronto. The bookstore is called Nuts and Shells Bookshop, after my parents, and that this is where I am.
Amazing. That's wonderful. Well, thank you both for, I see how busy you are. So thank you for taking the time to talk about this book. It is a really wonderful book. And again, if you haven't entered the giveaway, be sure to do that. And we'll be sure to share about your other projects in the bookstore in our stories. So thanks to both of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much.
And thanks to all of you for watching. If you have time, hang out in half an hour. I have another interview coming up, or join us next week as usual. Bye, everybody.